Welcome everyone to today's Title Topics webinar, ALTA's free 30-minute presentation that we've been offering each month to communicate important industry information with our members. I'm Jeremy Yohe, ALTA's Director of Communications, and today we will be discussing recording and pricing procedures, which are a pillar of ALTA's title insurance and settlement company best practices. Before starting, I just need to touch on a few housekeeping items. All participant lines are muted for today's presentation. If at any time you have a question, please use the chat box function and we will address your questions at the end of the webinar. As an added benefit, today's presentation is being recorded and will be available for download on ALTA's website at alta.org/best practices. And again, that's alta.org/best practices. I also need to thank SoftPro for sponsoring our Title Topics webinars for 2013. Their support allows us to continue providing these educational opportunities free of charge. All right, I'd like to introduce today's speakers now.
Judi Souza of Escrow Expertise is a court qualified and has more than experience. Judi, thanks for joining us today.
I really appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Next we have he is President and CEO of Arkansas-based. Patrick, thanks for participating as well.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
And DeGaetano of Ingeo Systems, working out of Chicago, Director of National Sales, today as well.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And rounding out today's panel, we have Jerry Lewallen, President of eRecording Partners Network. Jerry, thanks for helping us out with
You're certainly welcome.
All right, so kind of moving on of today's discussion is the best practices and specifically the recording and pricing component. And into the meat of the discussion, talking about recording procedures to this portion of the best practice.
All right. Well, the for you is the list of items that are included in the published best practices guide. We're going to walk through these, but in general, when you think about recording, think about having mind for your document tracking and have assigned responsibilities for making sure that these two things, then these items are. But let's walk through. This thing is to understand specific state requirements are from the Department of Insurance or appropriate authority within the state to make sure that you're compliant with that. The ALTA recommendation is that within 2 days after a closing has occurred, that the documents will be submitted to the county or the appropriate entity for. I mentioned, I think it's very important to have in your closing process that says who is responsible for sending that. There is a tracking log that shows when, based on your experience, you're going to know how long it typically takes you to get. So having a record of what you sent and when and how you sent it will file or go back and review that log up with documents that have been submitted, and the line is. Now the second, to use electronic recording where available. We realize available in all counties yet, but that is growing significantly and has gained a very large amount of momentum over the past couple of years. And I think that there's 150 counties across the country now, 4% of the population. So it is growing and will continue to grow. It is recommended that you use electronic. We'll talk a little more about what that process is and what some of the benefits are going to spend any time if I'm going into detail on that. Next item is tracking and beginning. One way that you can do that, things that you should consider having as a part of that is what is your order number, what was submitted, when was it submitted, and what is the method of delivery that you have that in place, and that will to be a good system of record when you're looking for documents and maybe start a search for something that hasn't come back. But keeping having a response, I think, is a key step in the process. The next item is we know sometimes things get rejected and come back. That can cause delays in the process. In my opinion, one of the most time-consuming and expensive parts of the recording process from the endpoint, because it means you have to go back and redo some work. It's easy sometimes when documents to have a rejected document and a recorded document, and you need to make sure that you have a defined process for when documents are delivered back to your office, that you immediately mail and determine whether it is an accepted document in that packet. That you have a rejected document, then it's important that you put forth the effort to make sure that the corrections are made. And one of the other things point is, who has that responsibility within your team? Is it the person that opens the mail? Is it the person who was the main closer? Is it a central office function? Is it a branch? To make sure that whoever has that responsibility and that's a defined part of what's happening. And then the final step is, once you do recorded, you want to make sure that that information to your system of record, that you have the date and the recording numbers, and that you have the recording transactions, and that you can get access to them, need it, before you ship the documents out to any final place that they may go as a part of the close. I would also just call there is a checklist that's Practice's website for these items, and you can look and review. And again, I'll that if you have a device relative, and that you have a person from a responsibility standpoint, most of it fall into place. Jim, you want to talk for a minute about the type of things and what that process looks like?
Sure. Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, everybody. E-recording, in a sense, is like having an electronic courier. Electronic recording service. Submitters can securely transport documents to county recording offices in seconds. Secure web network. The county receives the doc, process them more quickly, because on their side, electronic review and recording of documents more streamlined than the paper process. To record the documents, once the documents are recorded, is able to see the recording receipt, payment of the recording fees directly to the county recording office. So that eliminates the need for you to draft checks and attach. So these end submitters are embracing electronic to transport documents more quickly, record data, and to reduce costs. It works like this. It's pretty easy. Normally we can, a new submitter for same day, if you contact us in the morning, we'll be recording usually that afternoon or the next day. There's no additional hardware or software, computer, or scanner. And you know, once you sign up, the ER link to their system and a login, and to you would log into the system to a work list where you would see all the documents processed on the system. And this is really from this main work list where you would manage the, you'd be able to filter for those that are being prepared, those that are pending at the county, recorded, and those that have been rejected. Send documents down to the packages, and you'll give each package a unique ID. Letters or a combination of both. And then you select the state and the county, and then from there, if your scanner is connected to your computer, you could actually pop up in the website. You could input the accompanying data that usually goes with the document to the county. Most counties will require you, say, grantor and grantee, or mortgagor, sometimes consideration amount for a mortgage. And if your scanner is not connected to your PC, you could also have scanned the document and saved it to your computer, and then use the browser in the eRecording system to go grab that. So you've uploaded the scanned image of the document, you input your data, and then you click county, and it goes over the secure web network, and it'll be in the county's document. Once it's recorded or rejected, it's going to be returned to your work list on the system. Recorded, it'll come back showing the date recorded, the name of the county, your name as the submitter, the county's recordation number, recording fees. And then you'll also have the image of the stamp, usually up in the upper. If it's been rejected, it's going to come back with a rejection notice where the county will cite, and then you can correct the document. You can manage rejections much more quickly over using electronic recording because it shaves days off the process. And then the verification stage is, you know, you've got the image of the recorded document. You can review that to ensure that that is. So that is eRecording in a nutshell. And from here, who does it go next to? Okay.
And introduced me at the very beginning as being with WACO title. We're an agency based of operations in Missouri. I'm able to give an agency perspective of just how the benefits that we've seen. As far as reducing the gap risk, this is an area that we've seen our here, and eRecording can help reduce window of time between when you close, when it actually makes it to the recording. It depends on how everyone's agency is set up, but we have several offices and collect all these documents and bring them to location, then record at certain times during the day. You can record faster because you can record on the fly or as soon as that transaction over to the county. And you can reduce that risk, and as Jerry was stating, and procedures in place. If you don't have the correct process in place, for speed you up. But if you have a way of getting these documents recorded, uploaded on gap risk there. And as Jim was stating, as far as limiting courier fees, this is like having an e-courier. And so we have 6 offices over 2 counties. And so we no longer have a courier shipping these documents between offices and trying to get them centralized in one location for recording trips to the courthouse. And we've all had those closings where you have to get immediately, that you don't have time to centralize it and just take with those that have to be done immediately. And so a courier, and it utilizes your people a little bit better because you don't have someone running around. As far as increased security, the best practices, the pillars, this is one on is security, and how do you protect, how do you ensure that you have documents. You might say that, hey, it's not public document until it's recorded, and so these documents have to be handled as such until it's recorded. And e-recording allows you to take that document from your office, upload it, and so to meet the courthouse, and you have a tracking mechanism typically. And so you can see where that document has been uploaded, was accepted by the county, and you can see the process of whether it was rejected, back to you, and was able to go back into your system. And again, this is as fast as you key in the information on these documents. It'll go to the courthouse. The courthouse will record those documents and send those back. So you have the ability to record more documents faster, and you can record throughout the day, rather than waiting to send a courier to the courthouse. As far as productivity and increasing efficiency, this is the area that we've been e-recording for several years, and this is something that as soon as we can switch to e-recording, whenever a county does come online, we jump on that immediately. And what it allows us to do is better utilize our associates out of the office or between offices. We have that. For us, it's a post. Our post closers are better utilized staying in the office, and they can record through these recordings. Another benefit through our vendor is that these documents are our vendor, and then they return back to us directly into our system. So I know there's various production allow you to actually submit these recordings and have them returned electronically back into your system. Then just depending on how ways of receiving recordings and when they come back in. And that's been really the biggest benefit for us. Much of the best pillar, the best practices pillars, results, talks to, this is an area you'll want to document how you e-record, and then the way I would to actually document how the process work, go through the process of selecting a vendor, process and a procedure within your organization. Go ahead and test it out. There'll be that you just don't even think about or know about until. And then after implementation of that process, and then go actually work, not how you thought it was, how it would work on the front end. And then in well, using a eRecording vendor allows you to document the whole eRecording process. There's file tracking. You see the document or process. So you have a log of that. And so it gives more transparency, so they can ask you where it is in the process, and you can show a log of where that document's been, when it was e-recorded, when it was transferred, exact details. And so that's another really big talk about the pricing aspect.
Thank you, Patrick. We're going to look at the, and we want to make sure that we're charging or undercharging our customers. We're going to be taking a look at specific that we are within our industry to ensure that the customers are charged the accurate services. Mix of legal and contractual obligations. You need to utilize rate manuals or other online. You need to ensure fees are being charged. Items like your title insurance policy premiums, any endorsement fees, settlement costs, and cancellation. You need to take measures to ensure that rate charts are current. Most state insurance departments do oversee and regulate approved fees, so you want to always make sure that you're in compliance with any of your filed rates. Also be aware of charging customers changed fees or yet approved by your state authority or your agency that approves your fees. Discounted rates are calculated and charged when that would include any refinance, or make sure that those are not overlooked when you're processing the transaction. Make sure the consumer gets those because they may not be aware that those are even available. The ultimate responsibility certainly rests solely within your company. Also, you need to provide the consumers when and over. The frequency of overpayments and need for refunds are greatly reduced when the cost and with the appropriate pricing procedures at the onset. In view of the fact that often is said time is money and money is time, particularly at the beginning, then at the file, for instance, looking at a trial balance, reviewing, to pull the file, and then you find that there is a credit balance. You need to create a check, obtain the proper signatures, and then you have your check. So if you charge accordingly at the front end, it up with refunds at the back end. Training to settlement, you're calculating the accurate amount to be collected for recording charges and transfer fees. These fees, governmental agencies, and be accurately reflected in the consumer settlement statements. There won't be any variance of what the county or the state is charging you, honestly reflected to the consumer. That your costs may be easily obtained, and those are the financial trust funds. They can inform your company of any fees that they might be charging for incoming or outgoing wire transfers, such as on payoff. And many lender institutions will not actually charge a title company for, they are in fact obtaining the benefit of what is called float on your massive amounts of trust funds that are being held at the financial institution. Look under that edge of the blanket and see if that is appropriate in your area. Secondly, we have overnight carriers. They offer preferred bulk rates account volume, labels that can be, and then the delivery fees they're displayed immediately, so you know the customer. Oftentimes, I will see closings in. It's just a standard $25 for an overnight $50 wire transfer fee across the board. And this is not boding well for our industry, for our transparency. We need to get a closer look at something that is closer to the true cost. Third, those are generally state regulated through settlement or submitted by the notary public or a document signing service. There currently are only 6 statutory fee schedules. The other 44 do have raised state requirements. Quality check your files after settlement to ensure the company's established rates. A periodic review and an internal audit of your for that the actual fees and costs are being and that they're reflected accurately at settlement. Should actually be internally audited basis, not after the quote barn door has been shut. You need to make sure that the fees are being charged on an ongoing basis, not. So that brings us to transparency. That is a current, and we need to place emphasis on transparency and be compliant. Need to be more forward-facing for our consumers. And wraps that up for me. Back to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Judy, for some of that good information. Gentlemen as well on the recording piece. We've got a few minutes remaining. We'll to questions and answers. We'll have some good conversation. We'll keep it going a little bit. Questions, please use the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and we will address them as they come in. As we got a couple during the recording piece, a few of these, if you could. Amy Harmon wanted to know if all counties except electronic recording. Do you guys have a sense of how many counties in the country do e-recording?
It's about 800 out of a potential 3,500, but those 800 represent well over the population.
And Patrick, I had a question. How many of the counties that you operate in provide e-recording? Is it?
Yes, we're in about 15.
Okay. And a question from e-recording. She would like, how does the recorder's office know they're actually recording an original document?
That, first of all of the submitters sign contracts saying that what they submit original documents with authentic signatures. And then there are state laws out there that recognize an original. And so within the framework of those state laws, they can receive those electronics and report them as originals.
Okay. Provide e-recording. This is done in New York State.
Work has just started e-recording a few months. There's counties, but that number should be expanding significantly.
Okay. If a title company is looking to get e-recording provided in their county, how should they approach their county record road?
Refer them to one of the electronic recording vendors. You know, the relationships with most of the county software integrated. Most likely, we're integrated with the software system that they use, so it's easy to set up electronic recording. If they have a software system that doesn't have any, each of the e-recording that we could set up, and it doesn't matter. So it really doesn't matter the size of the county or their system or technology capability. There's really no need for a county to start e-recording.
Okay. We're actually getting quite a few in. Wanted to touch hit a couple on how many we get on the recording piece. Judi, a question. You had mentioned 6 states statutory fee schedules.
Absolutely. In order alphabetically, those are Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, and
Okay. And follow-up. The listener, if you are aware of any possible repercussions on title companies or settlement agents for not charging proper.
Thank you, Jeremy. That's a really good question. A consultant and an expert. Over the past 30 years, I have, on many occasions, been contacted wanting to perhaps look into filing a class action against title companies for their conception that title companies uniformly, I'm quoting this, uniformly pad the fees that are not realistic. Some of these, I'm not an attorney, some of these rest at certain points throughout some states, and actually been a participant in things. So certainly, as a whole industry, the can of worms could be open, so to speak. And I think we need to, as I'm drum, so to speak, we need to be more cognizant of the actual fees and clients.
Yeah, good advice, Judi. Thank you. Gentlemen, a couple more on the e-recording piece, and then we'll there was one central location they could go to find out if they're recording.
The best is to the PREA website, www.prus, and they contain a list of counties that are currently.
Great. Questions coming in about that, so hopefully that will be helpful. Charles had a question on whether or not to register with each county to e-record, or one place that they can register.
No, you don't. Once you sign up to use an electronic recording service, you can have access to all the counties that the ER to. There's one exception. Some of the counties do require MOUs, and so they sign a memorandum of understanding before them to submit a letter. It's the vast, but there is a small portion of counties that do require the MOU. When you sign up to with one of the vendors, we will provide you with as to how to execute.
Thank you very much for that. not seeing any more. Actually, are pretty well past the 30-minute mark. We'll go ahead and wrap up today's. Up with any of today's speakers, their contact information. And
Jimmy, this is Judy. If I may just interject and clarify something, the 6 states that I moved statutory filing fees, just for clarity fees, this is not regarding title insurance premiums, etc. It was fees. I want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. Thanks for jumping in. Definitely want to, not title insurance. But anyway, if you feel like you want to follow up with gentlemen on recording, please feel free to email them. As a reminder, today's call we'll be able to download it on our website. We also have previous webinars that we've recorded, checklist on the different pillars of the best practices, and we are in next webinar, and we'll address the best practice pillar of policy production. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, speakers, time, and I hope the presentation useful. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jerry.